I'd like to welcome you to today's technology update from Centralpoint, bringing you up to date on what's happening with the product and the market overall. Today's date is 4/23/2015. The market defined by Gartner as the user experience platform, at least that's the name they're giving it. The new market guide has come out in 2015, which we're pleased to be a part of. Again, this market guide states that all things are converging into one platform, and we encourage you to visit Gartner to access that report. If you have a subscription, you can get it for free. If not, you may have to purchase it. But that report will outline for you kind of the future of the market, and we're pleased to say that we fit squarely in their definition and are recognized by them as one of the vendors in that space. Since our last technology update, we've built a lot of sites and solutions. These sites are taking advantage of the responsive design that Centralpoint now brings to the party, where everything that we're developing is able to be we can take now advantage of divs and advanced CSS tools, so that as we reduce the size of these sites, we can now convert not just for one mobile device, but for any mobile device. And this is what's called adaptive responsive design, and very important because, of course, with the all of the mobile devices, we need to consider this reusable framework, and this is very, very helpful. Not just that, but for some of you who aren't familiar, we do have a tool called an organization chart. The organization chart allows us to render the family tree of your site and all of the sites underneath of it. Right now, this tree is rendering as we speak. It takes just a minute because there's so many microsites under this particular portal, so we'll just give it 1 second to cook. There it is. This has become known as the Centralpoint wheel or Centralpoint diagram, and this diagram allows us to see the main site, of course, any of the children under the main site, and then the ancestors, grandchildren, great-grandchildren sites. Whereas we can now build a very large enterprise, and this is unique to our technology. It's really what we've been saying all along, is that the data is centralized and then reused in all of these different outlets, markets, channels, audiences, call them what you will. Each of these individual sites represent a site unto itself. That site could be a microsite or a remote office, that sort of thing. And for anyone unfamiliar with how to render that tool, if you're interested, you simply log in to the back end of the console, and under admin in the top left, you'll see a tool called organization chart. If this is not turned on, please ask your production manager to turn it on for you. And when you add new, if you don't have a record today, if you add new, all of these defaults will be set up for you, and you can define your audience. And by the way, I just want to take advantage of this to show I want only the root audience known as Ohio. So I'm going to select Ohio here, and it's just that simple. So now I have a map for the entire organization, as we saw here. This is the entire organization, Maine, all the way down to, and of course Ohio's part of that, and all of its children. Or if we like, we can just view the Ohio ecosystem. So that's been a modification in just this most recent sync, where it's not just one wheel showing you the entire universe. We might want to show only the ecosystem of Ohio or Nevada or whatnot. And this becomes very helpful when you have regional managers or territories that need to be overseen by those groups. And of course, Ohio, under Ohio, we have only the children known as Akron and that sort of thing. So as we kind of make our way down to the Akron site, which is the child underneath, we may have two different facilities, store 233, store 237. Now here you don't see much design change as we navigate through these channels, but each site could, of course, look completely different. So the org chart we're very, very proud of. I think it, as we like to say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and this really is our definition of big data. Big data is a term you hear thrown around a lot. Basically, what is it? Well, it's how do we harness all of this information, and how do we do this in a way that considers data. That's another buzzword you want to look up, D-I-T-A. stands for Darwin Information Technology Archetype. It basically talks about the reuse and the evolution of information as it trickles down to all these channels, and of course as those users interface with it. So again, org chart, very exciting stuff. Take a look at it. You likely don't have one set up because maybe you feel like you don't need it. It's just a neat thing for you to see. Gives you a handle on the whole organization. So that's a new new feature found in Centralpoint. A couple other new features we want to talk about. We've had a lot of requests from clients that have asked us to convert form data into some type of an output. And in this case, I'm just going to enter a form. I'm just going to call this John Sample Company, Company 123. And of course, John's email, Company 123, whatever it might be. Okay, 124. All right, there we are. So as we hit submit, what's happening is the form data has been saved, of course, in Centralpoint, as it normally is. But what we're doing is we're passing it through a filter. And that filter in this case is allowing us to output a PDF. And as we see John Sample, J Sample. We see the company name, Company 123. So this is a pretty big deal because when it comes to data and the reusability of content, this allows us now to take those variables, whatever we're collecting, and then store that. And the output types are rather interesting because it's not just the ability to serve PDFs. We may want to output documents, Word documents. We might want to output Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint documents. So basically what's happening here in Forms is that we're collecting data. We're thanking the user for submitting their data. It may or may not have workflow. Our example did not. And the output is passing it through this template right here. So this because we've uploaded a Word document, let me just show that to you. Here's the Word template. So all you need to know are these little squiggles. And basically with these squiggles, you just drop in the the variables that you want. So I could have said, let's put, let's make sure that the person's last name is found right in here and right in here. So this becomes variable data. Of course, we're used to dealing with that in the web all the time. But when you need to define that output, and what's interesting is that output, just to explain further, let's take a look at the document we had just filled out to show you what's happening behind the scenes. Very interesting stuff here. We have collected a document. This is the form that we had used. Here's the results. So basically each result that was passed through here collected whatever information, and that information was stored in a actual PDF of itself. So we have the template document, but then we have that output document. So every time that thing is saved, we have to save this spreadsheet or that spreadsheet or this document or that document. So this means I think it's very interesting when it relates to Excel spreadsheets, because Excel spreadsheets can of course calculate. That means that your form that you're managing on your site, when people fill it out, well, those values that it's collecting can actually calculate a specific spreadsheet or calculation just for that person or just for that employees. I think a good application of that would be where we have a secure form of workers out in the field, and we've done this for clients, where they're tracking their hours. How many hours of home health care did they provide this month for this client or that patient. And you need to pool all that information in to your ecosystem. So that's information coming from the outside in. So we might need reporting for each home care professional. We might need to see Akron-wide, what were all the billings for the month there, for the organization-wide, that sort of thing. So again, when you start thinking about Centralpoint now, in 2015, it's not just about centralizing the content to distribute to the members. It's about how do we collect that data from the field and bring it back into this ecosystem. So it works very much like a fountain of information. It starts with you, of course, putting the information out to your users, and then it finishes with you collecting that data and tracking what they're doing, hence the term user experience platform. And also that helps you to understand, I hope, better what big data really is. And we need to keep that tethered so that we can track everything that's happening. So the tracking stuff that's coming in is of equal importance. We probably mentioned this in previous demos or in the previous technology update, but data sources, those unfamiliar with data sources, basically data sources is a way for us to look into this site and see what's happening. For example, if I wanted to see a live bar chart or pie chart or any of the analytics of what's going on, I can do that. I can render that. Here we might need to see an example of each and every one of the people who passed a test or something like that. Here's everyone who passed a test. Now, one neat thing here is this report type, this grid view type. We've had a lot of clients ask about a grid view. I need to have a uniform grid that spits out all of these results or all of those results in a way that I can now search. So as you search this, it'll search automatically. If there were a lot of results, we might need to paginate that. We might need to extract that report into Excel format or some type of format that we can use. So anyway, data sources is a very robust way of seeing what's happening. And we do support jQuery in terms of these data sources so that we can output these very nice charts. So if there's some neat reporting you want done, and a lot of this reporting setup may or may not be included in your support agreement with us, because of course, think about it, you could go crazy asking us for reports and put us to work perpetually for the rest of our lives. So if you do have reporting, let us know. We promise to make it very efficient and very cost effective. But what's nice about this is whenever you want, you can now just kind of log in and see what's happening. How many people have signed up for this, how many people have signed up for that. These are the types of things we're seeing all the time. We can set them up pretty efficiently, pretty quickly. But we want to work with you and understand what you need so we can have these for you. And of course, once we set up those reports, those two can be managed on a website. So this little thing here, this little report, if I wanted to go put that on a web page, and of course that might be a private page that you log into, I might say, here's your page, and I'll say private report. So that little object that I just copied there is that live data source. And that live data source, we may choose to put that only on the intranet, so that it is public or private, forgive me, and we might put that under the contact us section of this site. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that, and when I log in to the intranet, I'll see that special report. So again, reporting is a great way of us to give access to users who need it, so that as I look under this and I find my private report, well, looks like I didn't set that up right, forgive me, but you get the gist. That would have shown on the site. Please forgive me. Okay, another neat update. A lot of updates to the tool. I think data transfer, forms, a lot of big updates there. Let's get into data transfer and talk about that. Oh, first of all, a little sidebar. On the design of the site and the new universal design, I want to talk more about that. In our last technology update, we talked about CSS. We talked about shifting a site from tables to divs, what that means, how do we now deliver these sites that are truly responsive. And that has left us with the issue of CSS. Because some clients want to do their own CSS, some clients have very specific CSS, we need to consider both. So what we've done is we've put together a CSS, and for those who are very design savvy, think Bootstrap, but think Bootstrap on steroids, because Bootstrap only does so much, our CSS does more. So this CSS is now in one place. Before in Centralpoint, we would have fragments of CSS here and there to manage this design or that design. Here what we want to do is we want to globally manage this CSS. We've reconfigured this styles module slightly. Just move the furniture around a little bit so that we can manage everything in one place. So, for example, all fields that deal with the header or the footer or the search are all found here. Now, because a lot of people don't know how to use CSS, we even have the ability to make this intelligent. For an example, in my case, I don't know how to do CSS, but I know how to change a color. I know how to upload an image, like this logo that we see here. So, for example, if I change this one color to red, and I change this color here to orange, just as an example, what's happening is those values that I'm managing have updated the CSS. So it's really CSS on steroids. It's a CSS that if you're smart and you know what you're doing, go ahead and get in there and do your CSS magic. But if you really aren't a programmer, well, you can still work with this CSS. That's really remarkable stuff. So if I log out and take a look at this site, we will now see that we have an orange button. You noticed I made that orange. So everywhere I have buttons on my site, they're now orange. Wherever I have a web page on my site, the title is now red, where previously it was this brown color. So it's our goal is not just to provide you with a responsive site and something that is appealing to everyone, but a site that you can maintain yourself. Another module that we've made a default in Centralpoint under content, it's something we call homepage items. And we've just run into so much of this, we're dealing with homepage items. Let me go to the one that we were just looking at. Forgive me. A lot of windows open here. The homepage items allows you to articulate and organize all of the features on your homepage. So as we saw earlier, there were a number of different marketing messages happening there, whether it be this one with text appearing on top, or this one with text appearing on top. So it's a very nice way of managing not just these messages, but messages as they change throughout the year. You may want to push certain products or services through certain periods or feature certain areas of your hospital, whatever it might be. And this allows you to very easily update all of these really nice looking kind of marketing messages, besides just the ordinary content. Here's also something you'll see very vaguely in the screen here. You'll see opacity behind this menu here. You can actually see through the menu. And opacity is being used a lot in the modern web to break up this very boxy look, this very boxy design. With opacity, we can do a lot of neat things. We can even, if I stretch this out, you'll notice the fade that occurs around this image right here. So we can even kind of get rid of a lot of these boxy looking design visuals that you're used to dealing with in the past. Okay, so that's CSS. Again, just recapping on CSS, why it's important and why we can set it up really neat for you. Okay, so far we've talked about kind of where the market is, big data, just to recap. We've talked about forms and how we can now output different types like Excel and Word documents. Now what I'd like to go into and talk about is this. We have in our system a new way to import data. And let me show that to you. In data transfer, we have been asked to deal with the notion of importing content from not a database, not a shared network drive, rather from a RSS newsfeed or some type of remote access. So we now have a new feature right here in data transfer that allows us to reach out to any RSS feed we want to. Here is usnews.com. And I'm going to pull this into my news module. And just like data transfer normally works, it allows us to map all of the fields in our RSS data into Centralpoint. And when I map the fields, as I've already done here, and I hit the button, it's pulling in all of the latest, greatest news, top 100 news. But the difference is that rather than just taking an RSS feed and putting it in your site so that you see the links, but when you click on it, it's over at US News, we're actually bringing the content into your site. So this now becomes searchable, It's ingested by your site. Here's all of the records that just came in right now at 7:09 a.m. With the news itself. And what that means is that we now have news living in your site that might be originating from some other place, like right here. House panel is told of slavery in Thai seafood industry. Here's the article. So, of course, some of these news feeds or RSS feeds are from the government. You might have content partners that can provide you RSS. There might be healthcare stats or data. And, of course, now, as I search the word Thai, well, I can find my article on Thai. So, one way of thinking is the more content you have in your site, well, the more pages that will be indexed with Google and the more traffic you can bring to your site. So we think it's very important to be able to intelligently ingest that data into your site. And for those unfamiliar with data transfer is an amazing tool. You won't see it in any other platform. Data transfer can be scheduled. So that RSS news feed, I might want to set that up to check daily to see what new things are available, to pull it down. And I would recommend that, of course, you get the proper consent from your content partners. If you're already licensing their content, perhaps ask them for an RSS feed of whatever information you want from them. That way you can kind of set these up periodically to just check and fill up and ingest your site automatically. So we think that that's a very nice feature. There's been a lot of other improvements, subtle improvements, with respect to just about every module within the last year. We encourage you to periodically reach out to production management if you do have some questions about, perhaps you want to do a redesign for your site. Maybe you'd like to take advantage of some of this responsive design, which there's more and more mobile users, so we definitely encourage you to do that. Maybe you'd like to set up some RSS feeds. Maybe you'd like to see a wheel for your site, just so you have a mind map of what big data means for your organization. That is what we're here to do, and we do try and make our rounds and keep people abreast of what's happening, but we encourage you to contact us and learn what's new, and let us maybe even give you another demo so we can kind of walk you through the latest demo that we give to clients. Oh, here's one while I'm here, sorry. Events, we've learned, can get rather involved. And when it comes to the searching for events, by the way, we have a new calendar view for events. When we find events and we need to register for these events, that's really when the fun begins, because all of the people who have registered and who do we route that registration to for approval, there's a whole nother facet to events, which is managing the attendees and seeing who's attending which event. So we've done a very good job of complementing the events module with new tools there. But I think really wherever you look within Centralpoint, you will see improvements. We are definitely modernizing and staying ahead of where the world is, which is kind of our mission, to provide our clients with the best possible digital tools. So thank you very much for your time today. We encourage you to reach out to us for any questions you may have. And thank you very much for your attention today.